Alright, let's kick off part 2 of the Resident Evil retrospective with Resident Evil 4 launching on the GameCube on January 11th, 2005. It has been a long wait since a official game release, which was Resident Evil 0, not counting Outbreak, which is a weird online spin-off, essentially. So, I didn't play it until later that year in October. I got it for Christmas. I distinctly remember it. I did play it at my friend's house. She had a GameCube, so I played it then, and I was just like mesmerized how much like the series had evolved. Not about zombies, it's about weird creatures burrowing to your brain and then turning them into weird things, but still, it was classic Resident Evil kind of style, but with like more action essentially, and more exploratory, but like the GameCube graphics are just so mint and precise. Anyway, for Christmas, I got that, and that year, I must have got some kind of Final Fantasy or Ratchet and Clank game. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember playing it. I was at the part where after you basically first meet the vendor, and in this big valley, I was playing in that area. My girlfriend comes in, and she has my present for Christmas. I open it up, and it's DDR, I believe it was Extreme 2. I had played an earlier version at a friend's house and was just like mesmerized, like, wow, this is actually a really good series after like hearing so much about it and watching it on TV and stuff. And I was just like, man, I hate you right now because all I want to do is play Resident Evil, but I want to play this with you too. And oh, it was a magical set of gifts. And anyway, Resident Evil 4, the return of Leon officially in an actual console game. He's like a secret agent looking for the president's daughter. And yeah, he goes to this village and they turn out they're being like drugged or something, and they're being turned into these weird mutants. I just remember so many awesome memories from this series and this game in particular. This is the best game overall in the series, as I keep on going back and forth like, no, this is the good one, this wasn't. In terms of new Resident Evil, this is the best one. And in terms of classic, I go in between 2 and remake. But anyway, yes, this is such a good game and a high mark for the series. And it's pretty much gone middling to downhill ever since. Next we have Resident Evil 5, which launched on the PS3 and Xbox 360 on March 13th, 2009. That is right. 4 years it took for the next official one. See how I'm going here? The Resident Evil series had slowed down. If you looked from the other series, everything was like 2 years or less, basically. Even with the spin-offs, Resident Evil was a constant in the PS1 and PS2 era, and once it get to the HDs, it really slowed down. Anyway, Resident Evil 5. Now, it had a lot of controversy because trailers showed Chris shooting a lot of black people in Africa, and there was some uproar in that. I'm not going to get into the controversy because I just don't want to touch that. Anyway, I had just moved in to my dorm and in college, and I was hanging out with some friends, and one day we're like, oh, we're gonna hang out this weekend. And we went to the video rental store to rent some movies, and then my friend came upon Resident Evil 5 and is like, hey, how do we rent this game? And he's like, I've seen a lot of stuff on this. I've never played it in Resident Evil games, but I saw it's co-op, so that might be a perfect thing to play together. And I was like, yes, absolutely, I really want to play this, because I had left my PS3 behind, stupidly, because I thought I'd be too busy with school, and so I only brought my PSP. I had later rectified that in my second semester, and I put a lot of stuff on the side. Anyway, so we played through the entirety of Resident Evil 5 in 2 nights. I don't even think we slept that much. You know what? I think we might have played it in one sitting, essentially. And it was magical. It was so much fun together. Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the game. And going back to it now, playing it myself for this retrospective, it is very clunky in controls, of course. And the whole partner system, if you're not playing with a friend, is just horrific because your AI partner is really dumb. Still, I remember that night so fondly with my friend, having pizza, playing this game, taking quick pause breaks to go to the bathroom or what have you, on this huge screen. So the split screen wasn't even like terrible. It was, I don't know, he had like a 50-inch TV or something like that. It was just an amazing time, and just having his reactions to like all this shit happening. He's just like, what's this? Why is this happening? I don't even understand what's going on. And that last scene, there's just like so many crazy moments in that game. Chris punches a boulder and it's just magical. It may not hold up as the best Resident Evil, especially after 4, but I had an awesome time with it, to say the least. Next up, we have Resident Evil: The Darkside Chronicles, which launched on the Wii on November 17th, 2009. Now, I didn't play this until the HD re-release of it on PS3 in 2012, but I'll figure I'll put it in here anyway. Now, this is the second game, the first one being the Umbilical Chronicles. I'm going to skip that for now, but that came in between 4 and 5 anyway. So the Darkside Chronicles retells Leon and Claire stories in between Resident Evil 2 and some pre-stuff before 4, just going through some things that happen in the games along with some new stuff. It is a light gun game. Again, you played with the Wii controller, and then you could play with the Move on PS3, but you could also use the controller or whatever. So again, an interesting step into the first-person shooter kind of realm. This one is totally on rails. It's fine. It's another great co-op game, but other than that, I don't have much to say, I guess. Moving forward, we have a return to classic Resident Evil, and that was the marketing for it, with Resident Evil Revelations, or Revelatons, for the 3DS on February 7th, 2012. Now, I had just got a 3DS, and I really wanted to check this game out because I heard a lot of good things about it. It takes place, one of the very few games that takes place in a boat. I love the return of Jill, of course, and that it was supposed to be a classic Resident Evil game, and it really much is. It's very dark. You do have someone tailing behind you for most of the game. It's not a co-op game, but you do have that. But this boat thing, you're finding ways to unlock new areas, and it's the classic mansion, Metroid kind of thing. And you're fighting these weird aquatic mutant type things, so it's not the shuffling zombies that I would maybe have wanted for one of these types of games, but it's still good. And the 3D in the game is actually some of the best on the 3DS. There's even an option to turn the 3DS power more than 100%, and it looks fantastic. It drains the battery a lot, but yeah, it looks fantastic. This version you're seeing now is, of course, on PS3, which they re-released later on in an HD, quote-unquote, version. And it's good, but I gotta tell you, you should play the 3DS version because that 3D is just so good. And the lowest point in the Resident Evil franchise is up now, which is Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, released for the PS3 and Xbox 360 on March 20th, 2012. It was supposed to be like, what were Hunk and some other Umbrella people doing during the events of Raccoon City? And it was a third-person shooter, and I was like, wow, that actually could be pretty fun. You know, no puzzles, just an action game where you're fighting zombies. That sounds fantastic. The story sucks. It's a very dark game in terms of lighting, so it's kind of hard to see. It's just so monotonous and boring. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it besides calling it boring. It's glitchy as hell, and you're not even just fighting zombies, you're fighting soldiers at some points too. It's just, I don't know, there's nothing to like about it, and just the online stuff, oh my god, it is a mess of a game, and I was just so disappointed. I thought it would be just a fun romp or whatever, but it's just, even going back to it now for this recording, I was like, surely it can't be as bad as I remember, and of course, it was more than that. I mean, it's a good idea, and they are going to be trying their hand at that again, but I'll get more into that later. Next, we have Resident Evil 6, which launched on the PS3 and Xbox 360 on October 2nd, 2012. Now, when I played this game, I was head over heels for it, far and above the general masses of opinions, which said that it was a bad game. I almost gave this game a 5 on Examiner. I lowered it down to a 4 to 5, but I had just recently played it with a friend. We're doing co-op right now, And man, has my opinion lowered on that game. There's so many things that I just had the wool pull over my eyes, or just something about the game just captured me the first time. It's just not holding up exactly. Just the story and the acting and the action and just the placement of some things and the mechanics, everything just culminates into this weird hodgepodge of all these genres splicing into one to make this like global release of Resident Evil, and kind of like washing away what made the series good. I still believe in my heart of hearts that I do like it above a lot of other people's opinions on it, but it is lower than I would have given it my first hand through. But yeah, it may be the general case for why Resident Evil has gone the way it has, really. I mean, they put a lot of money in this game and to appeal to so many audiences, and just didn't perform as well, I think, as they wanted it to, at least critically. I'm not sure how it did financially, but yeah, I don't know. It is a game in the Resident Evil franchise. I can say that. And finally, we have Resident Evil Revelations 2, which launched on the PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One in retail on March 18th, 2015. I say in retail because it debuted in February as an episodic series, even though the disc-based version was only coming out a month later. It's very weird. But suffice it to say, I did enjoy this game quite a bit. Just like the first Revelations, it is not a true back to form because this does have co-op, so there is elements of that. But we see Claire come back for the first time in a long time, along with Barry. Some weird mechanics, and the later part of the game is rather dull, along with the two side characters. It is better than... Geez, where do I rank this one? I do like this one quite a bit. I believe I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Examiner and on YouTube here, but it does have a lot of flaws, but I generally do think a good game is in here, especially with co-op. Going back to it, I'm not sure if it holds up exactly well, but the best part of the game is a side game where you go online and you can fight against raids of zombie. I don't remember what the mode is called. It might be called Raid or something like that, but you level up and you shoot zombies. It is a more RPG kind of shooter of what Operation Raccoon City should have been. It is addicting, I gotta say that at the very least. But it was kind of nice to see these characters return to form. The story kind of goes in weird ways, and parts of it are kind of classic Resident Evil, but not exactly quite right. It's a nice reminder that Resident Evil is not dead yet, but it still has a long way to go before it gets revived. And I mean, that's basically it. Right now on the docket, we have a multiplayer shooter that's coming out in May. Resident Evil 2 is supposed to be being remade, I should say, at the very moment. Other than that, there are no other Resident Evil games besides the ports to the PS4 in this current generation, essentially, for 6, 5, and then 4, all within this year. 6 is actually at the end of the month. 5 is, I'm not sure. I think 4 is in the fall, so maybe it's now summer and fall for those releases. But yeah, I'm sure we'll hear something about the remake for 2 soon. But I mean, as you saw throughout my, like I said, for the first part of the retrospective, it was coming out fast. There was a lot of them. The cycle in between is very, short, and it was varied. But now it just takes so long for these games to come out, and they've basically been a lot of remakes or side stories or HD ports or something. It's just, the magic is gone ever since this HD, really kicked off with the PS3 and Xbox 360, that generation. The Japanese side of companies has really gone downhill, but that's a story for another occasion. Right now, for the 20th anniversary, I just gotta pray in my heart of hearts that 2 is a worthy remake. As much as I like the remake of Resident Evil 1, I just hope so much for it, and I hope they don't pervert it in some weird ways. And that's basically it for my retrospective. There are some games that I did not cover, that I did not play because it was hard to get a hold of them, including one Japanese-only Resident Evil game. If you want to know more about some of that stuff, it is in my write-up on Examiner, which will be going up after this post sometime later in the day. But yeah, despite what the future holds for Resident Evil, I do wish it a very fond 20th anniversary. Until next time, guys, see you then.
Boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, subscribe, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, subscribe.